No, we're not sick of zombies yet. The dreaded zombocalypse is still lumbering out of our PCs and consoles. Continuing the tropical undead plague of Dead Island comes its new sequel, Riptide. Story-wise, Riptide picks up right where the last game left off. In an attempt to escape the infected island, you find your way to a ship. Here you discover that you and your other zombie-immune buddies have been roped into some plan by a military-controlling corporation who are trying to use the infection as a weapon.
I've already administered 3 doses.
So how much longer? You said we'd have results by now.
Ah, those covert military-controlling organizations, Hex, when will they learn?
Yes, fools a lot of them. Naturally, all hell breaks loose and you have to fight your way off a sinking ship, only to find yourself on another tropical island hellhole fighting for your life once more. And while this time it seems they've hired actual Australians to voice the Aussie characters, they've really boganed it up with a terrific reel of ochre slang.
Listen, I trust this asshole about as far as I can throw him.
You're not telling me anything I don't know.
I think the accent's my favourite part of the game, Hex.
Bloody-o.
Bugger them.
You can import your character over from the first game, and all your skill trees and choices will carry over, or you can choose from a predefined set of skill trees, and that means everybody starts at the right level at the start of the adventure. Not surprisingly, your first task is to find your nearest encampment of survivors, who no doubt have an unending list of jobs for you to do.
Cables and batteries should do it. Will you bring me some?
Being the one that's immune to zombie infection makes you everyone's first choice to go out and run errands and collect supplies and find lost survivors and bring parts back.
Found it.
Although one of my first jobs was to help with fortification, and I don't know why they couldn't at least help me with that. Oh, you want me to put up a whole bunch of fences? Sure.
All right, let's put the barricades right there.
Get the skinny woman to do it. Yeah, no, you guys can just watch. I don't need a hand or anything, it's cool.
I wasn't even supposed to be here.
Even though this game started off with a pretty exciting intro, it was disappointing how quickly you settle into that humdrum of fetch quests and running errands. You spend a lot of time scavenging, spamming F to search every suitcase for items to sell, and of course fighting off a constant pouring in of infected every few meters or so. Not a whole lot has been improved upon, and after a while I realised this is pretty much the same game, just on a slightly prettier island.
Yeah, it certainly looks a lot nicer with some nice views and crisper visuals, and it softens the at times overwhelming gore to be hacking it out amongst bushels of pretty flowers. But the combat hasn't really been improved upon. You pretty much still stick to the old kick and whack formula for most zombies.
I'll send you to hell!
Although there are some great situations that allow you to use the tools you have to take out groups of them at once, and that's always satisfying.
You'll also encounter familiar specials, bile spitters, exploding zombies, and of course heavies that are easiest to take down if you basically hurl every weapon you have at them until they drop. New to the sequel are the Drowners, who did everything they could to spoil our leisurely boat ride, Hex.
Chasing us in the water, keep going!
One huge improvement in my opinion is the checkpoints for respawn after death. There is nothing worse than having to run halfway across the map to your body where you died. It's exhausting. Here you pop back to life never more than a few meters from where you died. However, any kills or damage you've done to any zombie remains, so if you had one hit left on a heavy, one shot will then take him down. And this means the consequence for death now isn't really much more than losing a bit of cash, so I found myself getting a little bit lazy.
Yeah, and cash is everywhere, so it's not really balanced, is it? I think you should at least have to restart the fight or just something so it's not so easy. I like that quests send you far and wide, and that gives you that opportunity to hop in a vehicle and get some easy hit and run XP. But the layout of the land forces you to take more risks and get out and walk more, and I understand why they're doing that, but it also feels a bit obvious. You'll jump in a car, drive down a road, and then discover it's blocked off a few meters along anyway.
Yeah, and I thought that given you could access everything by boat now, that would really change that, giving me an easier route back to the encampment, but no. It just feels a little cheap. That said, vehicles were never really my strong point in the first game, and it seems like nothing's changed, so I'm probably better off just walking anyway. I don't even know how I did this.
Nice parking job.
Yeah, thanks. Movement also feels a little bit clumsy though. I was constantly getting stuck under things and, I mean, you get stuck everywhere.
Yeah, that stuff drives me crazy. And quite often there's boxes or things built up in a way like a staircase, begging you to climb up them, but just trying to get up them is so awkward and the jump... I think Dead Island's strength is still finding those blueprints and making custom weapons, because that at least adds variety to the combat. Adding electricity, nails, and barbed wire to everyday items takes something from ordinary to deadly. I especially like those wolfy claws. But just like the first game, everything is better when you're doing it in co-op. In fact, I wouldn't recommend playing this solo at all, because plotting through those fetch quests on your own is very tedious.
I just threw a bomb in the water.
We weren't on the final code though, so our co-op session was pretty limited, with repeated crashes and some pretty awful lag. All in all, it's not a bad game. I mean, neither was the first one. It just doesn't really feel different enough to warrant a sequel. I mean, to be entirely honest, it feels like a really big DLC pack. I mean, these are the same characters on an island with the same objectives to complete. There's just a few extra zombies and weapon types.
Yeah, that first game was surprisingly fun, and this is more of the same if that's what you're after. But ultimately, I was disappointed by this, because I was hoping they would do something more inventive, and the design still feels sloppy. And that's just not good enough second time around the island, so I'm giving it 6 out of 10.
It's 6.5 from me.